I'm Margaret Floyd Barry, Master Restorative Wellness Practitioner, author, speaker, and Executive Director of Restorative Wellness Solutions. Each week, I interview the world's leading experts in functional health and nutrition to uncover the latest research findings, case studies, and evidence-based clinical applications for reversing chronic disease, including actionable insights and strategies you can implement immediately to elevate your practice, increase your impact, and change the way health is delivered. I am really excited to share today's episode with you. You know how there are those people in your life where their impact on you is just so significant that you just sort of divide your life into a before and after? That is how Bo Eason is for me. In today's episode, I had the absolute delight to chat with Beau about his philosophies on how to play so much bigger in our work as practitioners. I think a lot of us have a tendency to play small. You know, I hear so many people with the imposter syndrome. Who am I to do this work? You know, feeling hesitant, feeling nervous to step outside of their comfort zone. And Beau just flips all of this on its head so profoundly. We talk about personal story. We talk about how absolutely essential your personal story is for creating trust and that profound rapport that is so critical to our work. If you're sitting there thinking that you don't have a good story, you know, he really helps to unpack how that's absolutely not the case. Sometimes it's the most defining and what might seem like the most insignificant or embarrassing or painful moment, how that's actually such great fodder for our personal story, and how it's so important for building that connection with our audience, be that, just a client you're talking to or a group setting, or if you're a speaker from stage speaking to thousands of people. And really, I think this conversation with Beau is just such a good pep talk. And I think of it like a rallying cry for all of us to get out there, to set aside our fear and do just the incredibly important work that needs to be done. So have a listen. I think you're going to love it. Enjoy. Welcome, everybody. I am giddy with excitement for our conversation tonight. I have with me one of my all-time favorite humans and one of my most important mentors with me, Bo Eason. I am going to read his incredible bio to you so you don't miss out on any of the important details. And then I want to share a little with you about my first experience of Bo. So Bo is a former NFL All-Pro. He's an actor, playwright, speaker, leadership trainer, and national best-selling author. Beau started his career in the NFL as a top pick for the Houston Oilers. Continuing on with the San Francisco 49ers, during his 5-year career, Beau competed beside and against some of the greatest players of his generation. After his football career ended, he branched out into acting and wrote a one-man play called Runt of the Litter that went to Broadway. Now, as a speaker and leadership coach, he trains some of the most successful people in the world, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, C-suite execs, on how to communicate for maximum impact and success. His book, There's No Plan B for Your A Game, Be the Best in the World at What You Do, is an 8-times bestseller. And so that is spectacular. I want to share with you my experience when I first met Beau. So this is August of 2019. I'm at the Mindshare Leadership Summit. You guys hear me go on and on about at JJ's event. It was in the summer at the time. I think it was in San Diego. And Beau was speaking at this event. And there was so much like hubbub about Beau. Oh, Beau. And people, you're not going to be able to take your eyes off him. If I heard one more person say, you're not going to be able to take your eyes off him. And former football player, those are the two things. Former football player, not going to be able to take your eyes off him. And so probably doesn't shock any of you. Football is just not my thing. So that didn't impress me. And the more people talked about how much I couldn't take my eyes off him, I went into that talk determined to take my eyes off him. I sat there just like arms crossed, little attitude, legs crossed, going like, impress me, like really preparing to be underwhelmed because there had been so much talk. And I don't even know how it happened, But within the first couple of minutes, I was like glued to my chair. And yes, my eyes were glued to Beau. And I would have rather peed myself than miss a moment. But despite every effort to not like this, to be totally disgusted, to be, or not disgusted, but just to be underwhelmed. I went in expecting to be underwhelmed, and I was so blown away. And it wasn't after this talk. He gave a second talk the next day, which I absolutely went to and was in like the first or second row. And Beau, I don't know if you remember this, but I walked up to you after that second talk, and I just went straight up to you, introduced myself. I was like, hi, I'm Margaret, and I'm going to be working with you. Mm-hmm. And I did. And it was one of the best decisions I have ever made. I attended his personal story power event, which at the time was in Santa Barbara. Now it's just outside of San Diego. And I joined his mastermind and worked really intensively with Beau for a couple of years. And it was just been one of the biggest gifts for me. And yes, it affected my speaking. And, we'll talk a lot about today about the different ways it impacted me, but it also got me to think so much bigger in my life. And things like, a lot of you know, I just ran 50 miles for my 50th birthday. That's the kind of thing you do as a result of hanging out with Beau. So Beau, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us tonight.
Wow. The news of that introduction is, are you 50?
I'm 50. I just ran 50 miles on my 50th birthday.
Wow. Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Man,
thank you.
You look so young. I guess if you run 50 miles for your birthday, you look pretty young.
Well, I don't know. Some would argue the other way, but there you go. Yeah, so there's so much I want to dig into tonight. And in my experience of your work, I see these two parallel trajectories, and I want to explore both of them and then how they intersect. So one is this pursuit of being the best, right? And the other is the incredible power of our personal story. So I want to look at both of these, and as I said, how they intersect, but I want to start with this idea of being the best. Like, what do you mean specifically when you say being the best? Is this a mindset? Is it a practice? Like, what do you actually mean by that?
Yeah, great. This is a great way to start this meeting. And it all has to do with my dad, because I'm the youngest of 6 kids. And so I have 4 older sisters and an older brother, and he's closest in age to me. So we grew up on a ranch in Northern California, a cattle ranch. So my dad's a cowboy, a real live cowboy. So you have to wake up when you live on a ranch, you have to wake up really early. And so my dad would wake us all up, all 6 of us up at 5 a.m. in the morning. So, I could hear him go into my older 2 sisters slept in a room down the hall. And then the 2 youngest sisters slept in another room together. And then me and my brother were at the end of the hall, and we slept in the same room. So I could hear my dad coming down the hall. Because, cowboys are not like subtle, right? They're dirty, they're stinky, they're loud, and they don't pull any punches. So I could hear him go into my oldest 2 sisters' room. I could hear him whispering into their ears to wake them up. Then he'd go to the next 2 sisters' room. I was wide awake. I was awake, and I was going to pretend that I was asleep by the time he got to our room. So finally, he comes into me and my brother's room. My brother's asleep over there. He pulls back the covers on my brother and starts rubbing my brother's back. And he's got these dirty, rough hands, and he's rubbing his back, and he's whispering into my brother's ear and telling him he's the best. And he's not saying it like, hey, son, you're the best. He's like cuss words and, like, God damn it, son, you're the best. Get your ass up. We got to get to work. And then he would come over to my bed, and I was turned my back to him and waiting for him to rub my back. And and he'd pull the covers down. He'd do the same thing to me. I would pop out of bed, and we'd go do, what we had to do that day, that morning on the ranch. So This happened until I was 18, until I moved out of the house every morning. So if you get woken up every morning for 18 years the same exact way, you tend to start to go, what's he, as you're growing up, we go, well, what's he talking about? Is he really meaning me, or does he just mean my brother? And then as you get older, we got 13, 14, 15, we would, get into sports like Little League. And I wasn't a very good Little League player, and I would strike out all the time. But my dad would have his dirty ass fingers in the chain link fence like this, yelling as I'm striking out, "You're the best in there, God damn it, you're the best." And I'd be like so embarrassed because I'd strike out and I'd walk over the dugout, and all my teammates are like, "Bo, what is your dad even saying? You're the worst. He's not telling you the truth. You're the worst." And they were right. Finally, my brother and I went on our first date, and it was a double date with the Tomasini sisters, and their dad was the principal of our high school, right? That's a bad idea. Don't date, come on. Think about it a little bit, guys. So me and my brother are going on this double date with the Tomasini sisters, and we're really nervous, and they're really cute, and and we're going to go to the drive-in movie to see Saturday Night Fever. And we're walking out of our house, the girls at my mom and dad's house. We're walking out to the driveway to my mom's car so that we can take it to the drive-in movies. Well, as we're walking out to the driveway, my dad follows us out to the car, and me and my brother are looking like, oh no, what is going to go on here? And he has me and my brother, he has his arms around both of us like this, more like headlocks, right? Like this. And the girls are kind of ahead of us. And he's just whispering in both of our ears like, "Now, God damn it, you boys are leaders. You're the best. If you get in any kind of trouble out there, you call me. I'll wake up. I'll come get you. I won't ask you one question. You're leaders. You have a lot to live for." I mean, he was going off. And by the time we sent him back to the house and got in the car, the Tomasini sisters had these looks on their face like, what kind of date is this going to be? Right? But Margaret, the craziest part about it, it was just a source of embarrassment growing up, most of our lives. And then when we were like 21, 22, my brother was a first-round pick as a quarterback to the New England Patriots, and I was a second-round pick to the Houston Oilers. So we didn't know any pro athletes. There was never a pro athlete in our little town or our high school. So we were really the first, and we were, two brothers. And it was just at that point where we said, maybe he's right. Maybe the old guy was right all along. Maybe he just kept telling us we were until we actually were. Until we actually surrendered to what he saw in us that we just couldn't see for ourselves. Now, I realize that not everybody on this call had a dad like that, right? That acted that way and acted very boldly in front of people, to the point of embarrassment. But he actually gave us a lot of space to fulfill on this birthright of being the best. So, when you grow up like that, you tend to, just use that term. I've always used that term, Margaret, and I love the term because, for one, it's true, like it's our birthright. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been born. And then, secondly, it really upsets a lot of people, that term.
Yes.
Like it really offends people. And so you're as a business, owner, that's good, right? I like saying like, look, I have a vision for you, my client, Margaret. I know you have visions for your clients to be the world's best, to be elite. And now I know that sounds conceited or egotistical, and I just don't think it is. just based on, human nature, or, the laws of nature, which if you study that stuff, the day you were conceived, there was 300 million sperm delivered on the day that you and I were conceived. And on that day, that was a swim to the death. There was no participation trophies on that day. There was no silver medals on that day. It was a swim, a violent swim to the death. And there was only one gold medal to be handed out on that day. And then, so you and I, all of us on this call right now, that was us. We, against all those odds, 300 million to 1 odds that you would be the champion, you actually were the champion. And so you guys were the champions, world class, way before I came upon the scene. I'm just here to remind you that that's your birthright, right? And I think we owe it, especially now in our culture that we live in now, I think we owe it to the rest of the people on this planet to fulfill on that birthright, to be the actual best. I'll pause right there, Margaret, just in case you want to, ask something. I know it's a lot for everybody to get your mind around, but just think, if you don't, so you're the gold medalist already. Way before me and Margaret came around, you're the gold medalist already. You won the first race you ever entered against all odds. So argue with Mother Nature or argue with God about this, not with me about it, because I'm actually just going along with the laws of nature instead of the laws that man made up. No, you're actually not the best. You should hope to be mediocre, and that's all you can expect.
Yeah.
I think I like my way better.
I like your way better too. And I love the way that you have framed this, because I do think people recoil at this idea of, when you hear the term the best, it can feel competitive, which there's an element to that, but that's not what you're talking about. No. What I'm hearing you say is, it wasn't like your dad, he has 6 kids. He didn't pick one of you to say you're the best. Every single one of you. And what I'm hearing there is it is your birthright. And I would take it so far as to say your responsibility to be the absolute fullest expression of yourself, whatever that is. Yeah. And you are serving no one by playing small. And by, there can be, and this, this is a community of healers, community of nutrition professionals who have dedicated their lives to help others reclaim their health. And within that, we can be humble, and we can be, and sometimes that humility can lead into playing small. Yeah. And I don't think what you're saying is that being the best means being, louder than everybody else or some kind of egotistical thing. It's about being that fullest expression and not holding back, and just giving yourself to whatever it is that is inside you that needs to be expressed in this world. Just giving yourself to that absolutely fully and not holding back for any reason.
That you're exactly right. You guys, if you're going to attempt to fulfill on this birthright of being the gold medalist, of being, the best, it is the most humbling 20 years, I can promise you, going forward right now. It is humiliating to attempt to be world class at a thing. But think about your occupation. When I have an occupation, I've had I think 5 occupations in my life. Here's my only goal, and I think you guys actually do have the most important occupation right now in the culture that we live in the health of the leadership in this world right now. You probably do have the most important occupation on the planet. So you can't be a weeping willow about that. You can't. You have to fulfill. If not for you, because it does, right? To attempt to be the best, it's humiliating. It's embarrassing. You get rejected at every turn. It doesn't feel good. But it doesn't matter how you and I feel. It doesn't. I know this is going to, sound contrary, but it matters how your clients feel, and more importantly, it matters your impending clients, your would-be clients. How do they feel right now if you're going to be silent? If you're going to just play hard enough to win a participation trophy, how about all the people you're not going to reach that are going to die and leave their family, not eat, right? A myriad of diseases, God knows, right? So you're in the driver's seat. And there's no accidents who ends up in the driver's seat in cultures. Societies change, cultures change, disease changes, all kinds of things change. Now you're sitting where my mom would call it the catbird seat at the moment because of the disaster that's happening in our culture. So it makes you the most valuable player on the planet if you take advantage of it. If you put aside your own feelings about being cocky or looking egotistical or looking conceited and just go out and help as many damn people as you possibly can get optimum health. You can all do that, correct? You know you can do that. So you're holding all the cards. Now, if you play small, if you want to get a silver medal or a bronze medal or something less than that, you can definitely do that. But is that helping? Does that put you at the most valuable player position? No. No. And listen, I'm going to say this again because I know you're trying to get your mind around it. I don't care how you feel. I don't. You guys, there was a time where I wanted, when I got married to my wife, Dawn, who Margaret knows well, James knows well. We've been married for 25 years, but for 25 years we've been married, right? Do you think we base our marriage on the way we feel? That would be insane, wouldn't it? We base our marriage, it's based on a commitment, not how we feel. On a commitment. The commitment's a ring, and the ring never ends. It's just round and it never ends. So that's our marriage. So when I'm mad at Dawn and I don't feel like loving her and I don't feel like being a good husband, right? The marriage isn't over. When Dawn doesn't like me on a specific day and she's mad at me, that doesn't mean the end of the marriage. It means I feel this way. This day I love you. This day I don't think I love you. This day I think you're really great looking, and the next day you're not good looking. So what the hell kind of marriage would that be if we based everything on our feelings? We are based on our commitments, and your commitment as nutritionists, as the ones holding this MVP trophy, they have to be for the client. You have to fight for the client's health. Your voice has to fight for their health no matter what emotions and feelings it brings up in you. If you guys just watch the Olympics, let's take like Simone Biles for a great example. She, in the last Olympics, really, had a mental breakdown, right? Didn't win any medals, didn't do well, right? But then she rights the ship. She gets help. She rights the ship and says, regardless of how I feel, I'm going to get on that balance beam and I don't give a crap how I feel. I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to be anxious. I'm going to feel like a failure, but I'm still going up because I owe it to the people. I owe the performance to the people in the audience. That's exactly your job too. So quit basing your life on your feelings. It doesn't matter. You're going to feel every emotion anyway. It doesn't matter. They're going to come and they're going to go. But you're going to be effective all the way through that.
You know, Bo, I remember at the beginning of your personal story power event, there's a moment, and I don't want to give it away for folks who haven't done it yet and who are going to.
Yeah.
There's a moment where we are all together as a group. And I was so nervous, you guys. I felt like I was going to throw. I was like, I made it to the event, but I was like, I had that feeling in my stomach the whole time of like, my nerves are like almost overwhelming me just being at the event. And I, up until that moment, had a story in my head that when I looked at people who were really stepping into their power and really speaking up on tough issues, really like taking that lead and doing so very fearlessly, from my place of feeling small, I would look at that and think about how easy they had it. And I remember this powerful shift that happened on that stage with you. And you asked us, does anyone here feel nervous? I was like, and you said, good, that's where I want you. I want you to be outside your comfort zone. I want you to be feeling the edge of this is what it means to lead. This is what it means to play big. This is what it means to play full out, is to feel that pit in your stomach and you just freaking show up anyways. And in that moment, I realized that I'd always thought that, being the sort of small little one was hard, and once you've achieved success, things got easier. And in that moment, I realized, oh, no. This is the absolute reverse. I'm so playing it safe right now. By playing small, I can have all these reasons, but really what I'm doing is I'm not serving anybody. That actually those people that I look to and I think, oh, they must have it so easy because, they have this big audience or they're on the big stages. That's actually the scariest freaking place to be. And they're doing it in service of the mission that they're on. That was a really powerful moment for me, and a lot of things and a lot of decisions changed and came out of that realization. So if any of you here, I think we all feel, I still have these moments of, we talk about imposter syndrome of like, who am I to be saying this? Who am I to be on that stage? Who am I, but who are you not to? And as you said, it is not about you. It is about your clients. It's about their health. And in fact, you just got to take yourself out of the equation. If you're here, that's because you have a calling. That is because you have incredible skills that the world needs. And this is why this is not about you. And it's not, we see these folks on the big stages, et cetera. It's not about them. It's the mission, because that is the absolute harder path. So I think that this idea of being the best, you answered. I was going to ask the question. You've already kind of answered it. Is it mindset, or is it practice? Is it like an action? And I really believe what you're telling us. It's very much a combination of the two, because it's not that your dad rubbed your back every morning and said you're the best, and you just sort of willed it into being, and next thing you know, you're on the NFL. Like there's thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours of work and commitment and effort that went into that. But it went into that because of that mindset. Is that correct? The Clinician's Corner podcast is sponsored by Restorative Wellness Solutions, the premier clinical training program for health practitioners who want to learn how to finally get to the root source of their clients' health concerns and help them reverse complex health challenges and chronic illness. You can't afford to keep guessing. Your clients can't afford it either. Today's clients are sicker than ever before. Their health histories are more complex than ever before. And you simply can't deliver the results they crave or build the practice you desire without the right clinical skills. Enter Restorative Wellness Solutions' foundational course, Mastering the Art and Science of Gastrointestinal Healing. Our clinically proven, systematic approach to restoring balance within the body that has helped over 1,000 practitioners transform their clients' lives, grow their business, and change the way health is delivered. In less than 12 weeks, you'll develop the clinical skills and confidence you need to help your clients feel better, faster. Learn how to work with advanced lab testing to identify food sensitivities and imbalances within the gut. Craft custom targeted protocols that truly resolve your client's gut issues, and work safely and effectively with supplements to deliver consistently life-changing results. Enrollment for our fall 2024 semester is now open. Visit masterguthealing.com to apply today.
That's exactly right. There's no, to be the best, you're probably going to have a work ethic that's greater than everyone around you. And it's not like it's work, because you're working on your dream, on your vision that you have for the people. So that's why I always think my occupations are the most important, because they're the most important to me. Well, if I was a nutritionist, I would be telling my story. I would be building my business through presentation, whether that's one-on-one, 1-on-7, or 1-on-1,000. Yeah. Everywhere I'd go, I'd be talking the way I've been talking to you guys today. Like, if you notice, everything I say isn't like, it's a story based from my life, what these eyes have seen. It's my experience. And that's how I train, that's how I teach, and that's the only way people trust you. And that's the only way people can learn from you and be inspired by you, is through a personal story, which is what Margaret opened today with. Mm-hmm. So your courage you have to resolve one thing about your life going forward, is your courage is not going to be voted on. You're never going to wake up again going like this, well, am I going to be courageous today or not? It's not up for grabs. It's not up for a vote. It's not up for a yes or a no. Your courage is resolute. Do you remember the first time you had a baby? Do you remember that? You don't know what the hell you're doing. Yeah, and when you got married, you don't know what the hell you're doing there. But yet you just go forward. You take a step forward. That's called love. That's not called nerves. That's love. You want to fulfill on all of these clients and all of the would-be clients. You want them to fulfill on their vision for their families' lives. Well, they're going to have to live optimally. Guess who's in the driver's seat? Guess who's the CEO of that? You. So you've got to take that by the hands. That's a big responsibility, right? Because people suck at this. You guys know this. People are bad at this. Look, I've been an elite athlete and elite at a lot of things. And it's hard for me too, right? It's hard for me. Oh, what am I going to eat today? You know what I mean? I just want you to know the importance of your business, and I don't care if you feel confident about it or not. It doesn't matter. Do you think I have confidence? People go, well, Bo, you have confidence. You should teach confidence. I'm like, really? Yesterday I felt confident. Today, not confident. So am I going to base my life on confidence? No. I'm basing my life on my commitment to people, to make them the best that they could possibly ever dream of. That's it. That's it. You guys, you're in the same business I'm in. I will do anything. For example, when Margaret works with me, I will do anything to make her see her own greatness. I'll do push-ups if that's what it takes. I'll run with her in the mornings if that's what it takes. You see what I mean? So will you. So does it matter that I don't feel like running with Margaret? No, that doesn't matter. It matters that Margaret fulfills on her potential. That's my vision for her. You guys all have a vision for your clients. You all have a vision, and it's only yours, a vision for people who haven't even come into your life yet. But this is how you bring them into your life. There is something that makes you a leader more than anything else in the world, right? And I hesitate to use the word leader because it just has such a, it has such a negative connotation anymore. I remember when I was a kid and that word leader or leadership really meant something to my dad. It meant something to me and my brother and my sisters. But today it's different. It sounds bad. It sounds like untrustworthy. It sounds like full of crap. It's not representing what leadership actually is. But you're in that position now to have a vision for the people that the people don't even have for themselves. What if you did that? What if you all agreed to that? Like, what if today you all declared a vision that you have for your clients and a vision that you have for your incoming clients that you don't even know are clients yet, a bigger vision for them than they have for themselves? What does that make you? Where does that put you? Well, that puts you right at the top, automatically, just by having a vision. Guess why? Because no one else has one. And they certainly don't have one for other people. And you do. And your vision is, think about what your vision is, optimum health. Well, what does that look like in your vision? Does it look like sparkly eyes? Does it look like an elite torso, like a beautiful body? Like, when I see the Olympics, man, when I see those track girls and those track guys, I'm just like, look at those bodies. I want to have one of those. I want to be one of those, because they're getting optimum speed and movement and vertical leap out of those bodies. And it's so cool. Well, your clients may not have that vision or that dream, but it's what you hold for them. The vision you hold for them, no different than my dad's vision for us, that we later got to fulfill on again and again and again, only because we just finally surrendered to what he saw. And your clients and the people who are going to be your clients, you guys, they don't even know your vision yet. But once they feel your vision, guess whose clients they're going to become? The person who has a bigger vision for their lives and their health and their family than they have for their own family. That's you.
I love that you said this, Bo, because this is one of the things. So we have a business section of our class that we teach, and we do a whole initial consultation. And the most important piece of that is exactly what you're talking about. It's at the end where we really help take that client and help them stretch their vision, because often they have no idea what's possible. Have someone come and they're just so sick, and they have seen so many doctors and practitioners, and they've done this diet and they've taken hundreds of supplements and spent thousands of dollars, and they're just beaten up. And they come and they're like, oh, I just want to learn to manage my migraines or whatever it is. They just want to manage. I hear that word manage and I get all like, I'm like, no, guess what? That's great. But I have way bigger plans for our work together. I am not wanting to, fine, we'll help you manage your migraines, but here's what I want for you. I want you to get to the place where you forget that you had migraines, because they're such a thing of the past that it's not about managing them, and it's not even that you don't have them anymore. It's that you forget that you had them because you are living such a healthy, active, vibrant life without them. So we go through a whole process, and I think you're really helping to articulate why this is so compelling and why this is so important. I want to make sure we talk about story. Yeah. And I think this is you mentioned it in this last piece, and I think it's a really good time to segue into that, because you have a very compelling story, right? Folks here listening like, oh my God, like NFL and playwright and, this one-man Broadway show for years, 8 times best-selling author. For those people who are sitting here thinking, well, my story is nothing like that. Like I have, who am I? What even is my story? Can you speak to those people who might be thinking, well, my story isn't big enough to be compelling?
Yeah. First of all, you're not alone. It's what everybody thinks. Everybody, including me. Well, who am I? Who's going to listen to this story? You know who? Everyone. Everyone, that's the answer. So I know you're sitting there asking yourself, well, I didn't play in the NFL. Yeah. You had your own version of the NFL. You got sent home from the choir. You got dumped from the prom. Those are perfect stories that you have to share with people, because listen, listen, again, we live in a world that distrusts one another. Remember when you were little and you would go to the doctor, and the doctor would walk in with a white lab coat, and whatever that doctor said, you did, because they were like godlike figures in my life, because they saved my knees several times, right? They were, they operated on my knees and kept my dream alive. So we all used to trust doctors. We all used to trust what we call leaders or leadership. We all used to trust teachers, coaches, the education world, politicians. Well, maybe not politicians, but there was a level of trust in our country and other countries. You guys, we are in single digits in all those areas, all of them. No one trusts anyone anymore. Yeah. Got it? That's the good news. That's the good news, because there is one section of people that get to rebuild the trust that's been eroded over time. Guess who that is? The storytellers. No one can refute a story. If it's personal, if it's from a place of pain, you have all the power. People have to trust it. In fact, they can't not trust it. Isn't that weird to say? Isn't that strange? So the way I train people, and Margaret can talk about this too, is it's very specific, because I was trained to tell a story in a certain way. The promise that the guys who taught me to do this, their promise to me was how Margaret opened this podcast today. She said, everyone said you won't be able to look away from Beau. And I said, I'm looking away from this guy first chance I get. But I just didn't give her a chance. And the only reason I didn't give her a chance to look away is I've been trained to not let people look away. It's strange to say, right? This is really the heart of storytelling that everybody skips. People believe about 50% of what comes out of one's mouth. 50%. So you're talking to a client, you're talking to a potential client, you're taking them down this vision, and they believe about 50% of what comes out of your mouth. But, and here's the greatest part about you and me, where we are in this culture. People believe our bodies 100% of the time. Yeah. Because your body cannot lie. The body cannot lie. And if it does, you're out, right? So I've been trained, Margaret's been trained by a guy named Jean-Louis Rodrigue, who has trained me. He bases his physical training of storytelling, you guys. So you have a story, and that's right. Yes, you all have one. You all have one. And everyone has a very dramatic one. Even if it's not dramatic to you, it is to us. But once we attach molecules to that spoken word, now you can't look away from that person. It's much like if you ever go to stage, presentations, you're looking at your watch, you're wondering if you can text your spouse, and you're thinking about your laundry list. You're doing everything but paying attention to the speaker. Do you know why? Because the speaker's not trained. Because the speaker thinks it's about words. Now, what if I put a live lion on that stage with no cage around him? What would you do then? If I put a loose lion, a wild man and woman eating lion on the stage, what would you do as an audience member? Well, you would do the same thing that you do around speakers like Margaret and I. you don't do anything. You lock in and you pay attention. That's how Margaret and I are trained. We're trained no different than predator cats are naturally. Because if you think about it, and if you go back through, Mother Nature, we are predatory animals, you and me. Isn't that weird? Some people get really depressed when I tell them that. But it's the truth. We're animals, and not only are we animals, we're the most lethal, we're the smartest, we're the most dangerous predatory animals on the planet. Gals, guys, take advantage of that. Take this kind of training, because the audience that is out there for you, the would-be clients that is out there for you, if they can't look away from you, if they trust you, like funny enough, you and me, if there was a lion on a stage, we would trust that lion, wouldn't we? It's not like we don't trust what the lion's going to do. We trust that we're aware of what that lion could do. Yeah. Right? That's why you have trust. You have trust because you can't look away. You have trust because there's somebody in the room that has taken over the room and is providing a lot of safety in the room. That's you, by telling your story in a physical manner. Now, I hope that doesn't freak you out, but that is why I'm just going to give you a straight ass example. This is why you turn on the TV when we're done here, just turn the TV on. Go to the news, you tell me, can you look away from that person? Of course you can. Do you trust that person? Not for a second. That's our world, ladies and gentlemen. That is our world. I'm not interested in that. Not at all. Not when it comes to health. Not when it comes to optimum health. I'm not playing that game. You're playing the game of life and death. That means you should be trained with your story. Physically. No different than a lioness. No different than a cheetah. I want you to have that kind of presence. When you see me on stage, which I hope we get a chance to do that soon, you'll recognize that. You'll see it. If you've seen Margaret on stage, you can see it right in front of you. You can still see it on the camera, right? But in person, one-on-one, or one to, if you're in a stadium and you're speaking to people, you can really feel it then. You can feel that here's why you get so much trust when you do it. Here's why they can't look away. Because they know, the audience knows who's there to fight for them. Yeah. And you can't lie. Your body will not lie. Your body, if it betrays itself, I smell a rat, right? But when you're trained, then you hold their attention, and only you can let them go. Only you can go. Here's the vision, go. This is what I want for all of you. Your story, capturing it, physicalizing this story, and then you build your business, you build your income based on storytelling. Because that is the most valuable thing going at the moment. Because what does storytelling give you? It gives you trust. People will follow you. They can't not. Story makes your audience choose. And guess who it makes them choose? The storyteller. You. Now, you guys, I don't train derelicts. I've been asked many times to train big, derelicts in the political world, and I say no. Because if they knew this, if they've been trained like Margaret and I have been trained, that gets really dangerous. It's really dangerous. It's just like, if you think about storytelling, you guys, people like Hitler, people like Osama bin Laden, They are fantastic storytellers. Amazing story. I'm not praising them, right? I'm saying they're using it for the wrong reasons. But story is effective, whether in the hands of evil or in the hands of people with a vision like you. It works. That's the only reason I'm in this business. It works. I want people to be effective, not have a bunch of excuses for not being ineffective, for not being effective.
I want people to know too, that story that where I wouldn't leave my seat. Beau has, I read his amazing list of accomplishments. That story was a pretty basic story about him and his son throwing a football around at a kid's birthday party.
Yeah.
So if you're sitting there thinking that your story isn't powerful enough, it is not about some grandiose moment. In fact, some of the smaller, what we might think of as insignificant, but ultimately so human moments are the things that, when you can tell it in a way that Beau is talking about, when you can really physicalize it and feel it. If any of you saw me before I get on stage or even before doing podcasts and things, you would think I'm absolutely out of my tree of some of the things that I'm doing. I spoke at NANP earlier this year, and he got to the room nice and early, just like you taught me, and I was walking around, touching all the seats, and the sound guy's like, are you okay? I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm great. And just, creating that safe space for myself and for every person who comes in. And it really, what Beau was saying, I cannot underscore it enough. It really allows that element of humanity. And one of the things you teach, Beau, is this element that the more specific your story, the more granular you can get into details, the more relatable it is to everybody, the more universally relevant. We see this, just from a marketing perspective, we talk a lot about like niching, and people are always like, well, I want to work with all of the people and all of the conditions. And it's like, yeah, but the more specific and it can feel like you are only telling this tiny little moment, but you all know that experience when you feel like the speaker. And it does not happen very often, but when it happens, you take note. And it definitely happens with Beau. And I've talked to other people in the audience. Every single one of us in there thinks he is speaking only and exclusively to us. Like I sat there in the audience going, this is almost embarrassing. Like, is everyone else like okay that he is like literally giving this entire thing for me? Like I felt that level of connection in a story about football, throwing a foot. I mean, it's hard to explain it, but can you just speak a little bit about that kind of specificity?
Yes.
And how that, and actually I'm seeing a question that Karen has asked, and I think we could weave it in here too, which is your story might not just be your story. It might also involve others who don't want you to tell it. So I know that there's ways of doing this in such a way that is not necessarily throwing people under the bus, that can be respectful, that can be really hyper specific and have that total universal appeal where everyone thinks you are talking to them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So to answer the first part, Margaret, I was taught, and look, you guys, so I wrote this play that was going to Broadway. So it was about to open on Broadway. Now, listen, if you're a football player and you now are a playwright and you go to Broadway, guess who's going to try to murder you? Every critic in the house. Because they do not want you, some amateur like me, coming in there and, busting up Broadway. So Larry Moss and Jean-Louis Rodrigue, the guys that directed my show and helped me with it, they kept saying this term, Beau, the more personal the story, the more universality it has. The more personal, the more universal. The more personal, the more universal. Because we all try to distance ourselves from our own story and not make it personal. Oh, and we say stupid things like this. Oh, it's not about me. It is about the speaker. The speaker is speaking from their eyeballs, from their experiences. So There's one story I tell about my dad's hands. And my dad's hands were so scar tissued, you guys, because of rope burns from roping cattle, right? So when he would pick us up in the swimming pool, he would lift us and throw us kids. We would scream bloody murder. Dad, put me down. Your hands, they're so hurt in my belly. And because his hands were just nothing but scar tissue. So you guys, that's an example. I just told you a little anecdotal story, like 25 seconds. When I speak of my dad's hands, you don't think of my dad's hands. You think of your dad's hands. What does that do? Personal equals universal. The more personal you are with the telling of your story, the more people locate themselves inside of their own life, which is where everybody wants to live. So if you talk about getting dumped at the homecoming dance, the people who have had that happen and the people who have never had it happen thinks it's happening to them. They're going back through their Rolodex when they were in high school at the homecoming dance. Whether they got dumped or not, they're still at their homecoming dance. And you, the speaker, gave them that gift. The greatest gift that they're going to get all day is to be inside their own life. You have just given that to them. They hold you in their hearts forever if somebody gives them that gift. So the more personal, the more detail you have about your life, the more people have connective tissue with you. That's what you want. The reason you can't connect, if you turn on the TV tonight and you watch the news, you watch a politician, you can't connect to them. You can try as hard as you can. You cannot connect to them because to them, nothing is personal. Nothing is intimate. Everything is a statement, like a public service announcement. And they don't ever expose or reveal anything about themselves. Where you and me are not in that business. We're in the business of helping people. So we have to expose ourselves. We have to put ourselves on the line. You do that by telling personal stories. And personal stories like that, defining moment stories like that, usually come from pain, a painful moment, like getting cut from the football team, like not winning the homecoming crown, whatever it is. Your mom told you you were the worst speaker in America, or you were the worst singer in America. That is how superstars are born, because of that pain. And that's the story I want you telling. That's a defining moment story that happened to all of you in your life. And I bet, I can predict a lot of your stories, because say you're like, for professional athletes, like for me, every athlete at a highest level, like a Michael Jordan, like a Tom Brady, me, we all have the same story. Us three have the same exact story. We got cut from our high school team. We got sent home from 8th grade being told we sucked at Little League. Michael Jordan, that happened to. Tom Brady, that happened to. Me, that happened to every great athlete. Why did they become great athletes? Why did Michael Jordan become the best basketball player in the history of the game? Because he got cut twice from high school. Well, how could this be, you guys? So for your field, what do you, emotionally, why are you great as this nutrition practitioner? Why are you the top of the heap? You know why? Because predictably there was some setbacks health-wise, either in your family or friends. There's somewhere in your life where this has brought a lot of pain to the whole family. And those are the people who are become the greatest practitioners. And we can go on and on through every occupation. The top in any occupation come from pain. You don't get there by no struggle. You get there by like people punching you in the face, and you just keep going. And then you get to the top. That's how the top works. That's why I like trying to be the best. I like being the best because I know it's going to be a battle, and I know everyone else will quit because it's too much of a struggle. Well, it's no competition. There's no competition. And that's why I want you telling that story, that defining moment story.
So this question that Karen had about
Oh, yeah.
when your defining moment story happens to involve other people, which a lot of ours do.
They do.
And if those other people don't really want you telling the story, how do we navigate that?
Yeah, everybody has to do that, everybody, because you don't want to out your mom or your dad or somebody, you know? So you change the name, you can change the relationship. You can do it after they pass. You can wait to tell that story. I mean, there's a lot of ways to work around it. Or you can do what I did, which was go to them. Because I reveal a lot about my family. Not, I reveal like my dad waking me up. But I went to him and said, Dad, I'm going to talk about you in ways that you would never talk about yourself. I'm going to share a story about you waking us up that I know you don't even think about. You would never think to tell that story. Because who are you going to tell it to? Like some cattle on the ranch, right? He's out there by himself, so it's a different occupation. But you can ask them, hey, do you mind if I use my mom in this story or my daughter in this story? Because you know what? If you give me permission, I will use you. I won't use your name, but I think it'll really help people. Most people, most relatives then go, yeah, that's cool, you can do that. And if they don't, fine, don't use it. Don't use it. Make it more vague. Make it a different relationship. Make it a friend. You can do that. It still has the fiber of the truth in it because it's something that defined you. That's the story we're looking for, is this moment that defined you. Who are you for the rest of your life? Well, my defining moment is when I got cut from Little League. So when you get cut from Little League, you get sent home, you make decisions in your life as a young boy. You go, I'm never going to get cut ever again in my whole life. And so I built a life around that painful defining moment. I built my whole career based on I'm never going away. I'm never getting cut. And that's true still today. I'm 63 and it still happens today. I do not go away. I don't care how much you don't like me. I don't care how much you want to cut me. I'm not going. I'm staying. And so that's a defining moment. We all have it. That's the one I want you telling.
Yasemin has a question here.
Okay.
How can we overcome the fear of public speaking? I get nervous, especially when it comes to sharing my story. And before you answer, Beau, I'm just going to say, Yasemin, I'm terrified of public speaking. I still am. And I can remember standing on that stage, Beau, working with you, shaking. Yeah. And I shake. I physically shake. I'm one of those people that I cannot hide it. I'm like that too when I get excited. I see my little daughter who's like my mini me. She's the exact same way. She's just so like physical. She gets excited, she shakes. She gets nervous, she shakes. I get nervous, I shake. Yep. And I remember you saying to me, "You're shaking. Are you nervous?" And I said, "Yep." And you said, "Everyone else is going to tell you to stop shaking. I'm not going to tell you to stop shaking. That is energy." I can't remember exactly what you said, but you helped me reframe it completely into just like, that is just the energy flowing through you. Let it flow through you and move on and just deliver what you're going to deliver, shaking or not shaking.
Yep.
That's my answer, but I want yours is pretty much better.
That is the gold. The guy who trained me, Larry Moss, he directed my play Run to the Litter. He works with if I start listening to the movie stars he works with, it's like a who's who. He will not work with a performer. So you and I are performers, right? So we're public speakers. No different than an actor. It's pretty much the same thing, except it's easier to be an actor, actually. So every great actor, including people you wouldn't think, like Margot Robbie, for example, the gal who just played Barbie, and she was in I, Tonya. She got nominated for Academy Award, and The Wolf of Wall Street. She's just out of this world. She is a wreck, you guys, behind the scenes. A wreck. But, so I played football with a guy named Joe Montana, right? He's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He is a wreck before the game. Puking on the toilet, everything, you guys. Larry Moss will not work with people unless they're, what's the word? The opposite of like, out introverted. He won't work with people who aren't introverted. You know why? He said introverts make the most interesting performers because they're reluctant to do so. Did you guys ever have a girl or a boy that you grew up with and they were like the drama queen and they would go, I'm moving to Hollywood because everybody tells me I'm so dramatic and everything I do, I'm gonna be a star. Did any of you grow up with anybody like that? Larry Moss will not work with those people. I will not work with those people. You know why? It's uninteresting. They have nothing to say. The people who have something to say, public speakers, who are reluctant to speak in public, let me get my hands on them. Because I know there's a bunch of TNT. So when Margaret was just telling that story, her hands are shaking, right? Like this. What am I doing as a trainer, as a teacher, as a coach? I'm going like this. I can work with this shit. This is good, right? This is what I can't work with. Oh my gosh. It's so dramatic, my life. So much drama. There's nothing to work with. I work with pain. I work with courage. If you don't have courage to begin with by public speaking, so just think about this. You're a public speaker. I have spoken, I bet you, maybe Tony Robbins has spoken more than me. Maybe a couple other people that I can't remember. Maybe they've spoken more than me. I am a wreck before I go on stage. And the minute that I stop being a wreck before I go on stage, I'm going to quit. Because that's quitting time. That's the day that it's over. Because here's the truth. If it is a courageous act for you to walk on that stage, you get rewarded immediately. If you are one of these people, because I've been with these people backstage, famous speakers, they say to me, Bo, watch me go up here on this stage. I'm going to nail it. I'm going to nail all those people out there. I'm going to get them. I know they're full of shit. And I know the speech is going to suck, and it does. They didn't connect to anybody. Their whole process up on that stage is an experience of themselves. I'm like, no wonder you don't connect with the audience. It's like, it's like, I don't want to say it because that'd be like foul language. It's self-involved. You see this all the time. It's narcissism. It's uninteresting. Us that care, us that are nervous and anxious and shake and our voice trembles, that I can work with because that's a courageous act to begin with. Just walking out there, you get rewarded for that. You do not, I'm done with polished speakers. I'm done with antiseptic speakers. If I see one, I run away because I smell a rat. I want somebody who shakes. I want somebody who cares. I want somebody who's real and fights through their own nervous system to deliver the goods to me. That's what I want. That's courageous. That gets rewarded. Every big movie star that you have fallen in love with in your life, whether that's Paul Newman or whether that's Brad Pitt or a Tom Cruise or a Margot Robbie, they are just like you and me. They are reluctant to be movie stars. They do not want that job. They would rather do something else if it didn't cost them as much nervous energy, as much as they got to puke before they even walk out there. It's a big responsibility. So they're self-aware of that responsibility. So it does take something. And when your hand shakes, I love it because I go, oh my gosh, this is a champion about to be born. Because once we get this, because this is only emotion. All this is just unfocused emotion. That's all this is. That's all this is. I'm really feeling like I'm really nervous up here. It's just unfocused emotion. Well, I'm going to focus it. We're going to focus it. And then that thing is going to be powerful, beyond measure. Like people can't measure that kind of power. That's why you're so reluctant to do it, because you're more afraid of what you're going to be when your dreams come true, because it's scary. It's much easier to win a bronze medal. It's much easier not to even win a medal. It's really hard to win a gold. It's really hard. It costs you a lot. It costs you a lot of nerves that you're going to have to deal with and power through. But you guys, what else are we doing with our lives? In a world that is cowardice, let's be brave. Just for one more minute than them. Just for one more minute. Walk on the stage. Have your legs tremble. Who cares? Deal with me. Deal with my emotions. I'm here because I have a vision for your life. That's the only reason I'm on this stage. I don't want to be up here, but I have a vision for you. And here it is. Boom.
Yeah.
That's cool. You guys, that's a cool life.
This is the last question, then I want to talk about your event that's coming up. And I see for those of you here, they've just popped in Beau's story guide and video training. So if you're wanting to just dive in and get stuff right away, text CAPTURE, CAPTURE, to 323-310-5504. So I'm throwing that in there for those of you who are not seeing the chat and listening to this later. I will say that again at the end, but we're talking a lot about stage here.
Yep.
And I want to just end on some different context where we can apply this story, because it's not just, you've alluded to it. It can be one-on-one, it can be 1 to 7, 1 to 1,000. I will share, when I did this exercise and really articulated my personal story, and every one of you has heard, if not the whole thing, and if some of you will have heard the whole thing, some of you have heard it multiple times, some of you have heard extracts from it, some of you have heard little modifications in different contexts. There's an exercise that Beau has you do where you end up encapsulating this story and this moment in what he calls the one true sentence. And I will tell you that one true sentence for me, every one of you has heard it. It is not just what I use it with. I've dropped it with clients. I have used it in podcasts. I've used it when I have been speaking, when others have interviewed me, when I've been interviewing others. I've used it from stage. But that one true sentence is also my rallying cry for why I do what I do. So it's not even just about the story we are telling others. It's also the story we tell ourselves. Because just to bring it back to the beginning, talking about commitment, whatever you feel today is not the point for your marriage or for your vision that you are holding for your clients and for what you're achieving in this life. It is not about what you feel. And some days it's easier to tap into why you do what you do than other days. And what I have found is using my story, and really understanding and being able to articulate in one concise sentence. It's kind of my rallying cry. I do it before, I just did it before we got on here. I do it before pretty much every speaking gig I do, is I speak out into the world my one true sentence, because it distills my vision for what I'm creating. So if you're sitting here thinking, but I'm not on big stages, there are so many different contexts where you can weave this in. It doesn't have to be a 20-minute long story. One of the questions we'd had is, how do you know? How much depth and detail do you go in? We've all been in that situation. I was telling Beau before we started, I had a situation recently where I was talking with a practitioner I might have been working with. And this person talked to me for like 20 minutes. I guess you could call it telling a story. But it's just this on and on and on about themselves, to the point where I was like, well, I'm out. That's completely uninteresting. So clearly that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about relatability. We're talking about drawing people in. We're talking about trying to help them see that bigger vision for their life. So any kind of closing words for those who are thinking about this and wanting to kind of understand how all pervasive this is in their communication?
It really is. It's in everything you do. So if I'm one-on-one coaching, my story's in there. It's going to be in there, just like today. Stories of mine are interlaced all the way throughout this thing. Now, I wasn't planning these stories. I wasn't going, wow, I'm going to get on there and tell them this story or tell them. They just happened when Margaret asked me a question. So, and I do a lot of one true sentence coaching. I just use a one true sentence. I just say, like someone on the golf course will go, Bo, hey man, how's it going? Well, hey, what are you doing these days? What do you do? I'll go, well, when I was 9, I had a dream, so I drew up a 20-year plan. That's my one true sentence. So instead of telling them what I do, oh, I'm a speaker, I tell them I tell them a sentence. Like I had this dream when I was 9, and so I drew up a 20-year plan. That's what I do. And they're like, well, what the hell? What do you mean by that? And now they have to know more. And now they go, well, I want to do that. And I'm like, well, come on, come join the party, join the event. So if I'm one-on-one, if I'm giving a small speech to a private company, if I'm teaching a small group, it's always story. Because what do I need with all those groups? When I speak to 25,000 people, same thing. What do I need from 25,000 people? I need trust. I need intimacy. So I've got to begin with a personal story so that people can start to lower their armor, which they're protecting themselves with. Because that's what people do when they hear a personal story. They drop it. So I know I do talk about it on stage, but I follow Shakespeare in this way. All the world is a stage. We are merely players in it. All the world is a stage. We are merely players in it. So your office is your stage. Your phone is your stage. Your stage is your stage. The Zooms are your stage. There are stages everywhere. Starbucks is your stage. And if you do what Margaret and I are telling you to do, like this, get trained not only on your defining moment, like the words of it, but then who are you being? Who are you being that people can't look away from? That training, and then turning this into money, because your personal story is probably your most valuable asset. It's the thing that you're going to get paid for the most in your lifetime. So I wrote my play. I wrote my first story when I was 9 to be the best safety in the world, and just lived that into existence for 20 years. Then I wrote a play, and the play opened on 9/11, right after 9/11 in New York City. So we were there on 9/11 during the rehearsals. So that play ran and employed me for 17 years. One story, you guys, one story. Every time I told it, a huge fee was involved in it. And listen, this is what happens to you. I'm not special, but I am committed to my stories. So that story that I told and got paid for 17 years, then got bought as a movie. Again and again, right? Then movie stars came to me like Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire and said, we want you to write a movie for us. And I'm like, I don't write movies. And they go, we think you do, and this is how much we pay. And I said, I think I do write movies. So, you guys, the bottom line is, people, when you can share yourself, when you master the expression of this instrument that you and I have, which, by the way, as you know, as nutritionists, is the most magnificent instrument of expression that God has ever created, right? So quit misusing it. This thing people are going to follow, but it's got to share itself. If you withhold this instrument, if you withhold it, then you're just giving the bird to God. Like you're flipping God off. Like, hey man, I know you gave me this great instrument, but I'm a little shy. I don't feel like sharing it. Well, shame on you, right? This instrument was made to express itself. What I'm telling you right now is I wrote one damn story, you guys, and people came to me and invented occupations for me because I was good at one story. And they'll do the same to you. Bo, you're a screenwriter. Here's a lot of money. Bo, you write it. Bo, you're an author for books. No, I'm not. I don't know how to write a book. Well, we pay this much. Okay, I'll write a book. That's been my life. Oh, Bo, you're a speaker. Here, we pay our speakers a lot of money to go to Hawaii and speak on a stage. Hey, I don't do that. How much do you pay? Oh, this much. Oh, I could probably do it. I'd figure it out. You guys, this is what happens when you start to master this thing, this instrument. I want you to do that. One, because it helps you to fulfill on your dreams. Two, it fulfills on the vision that you have for your people. And then they get to live these lives too. And they get to pass it on to their kids or grandkids, and they get to live longer and be skinnier or healthier or whatever it is that they want. That I never poo-poo the reason I'm here. And I never go, well, who really cares? You know, yeah, a lot of people care. A lot of people want to be healthy, right? And the people that don't want to be healthy, you better be forceful enough to grab them by the nape of the neck and go, you know what, get your shit together because you got kids, and you're responsible for them. So listen to what I say and do what I say. And sometimes you've got to be like that. So that's just part of it, right? But if you have the story, you have the credibility. You have the wherewithal. You have the emotion. You're fighting because of pain that you've had in your life, and you're not going to let that happen to another family. That's how it goes. That's my experience that Margaret and I have gone through, and I'm betting $1,000 that it's happening in her family now ongoingly, because it does in my family. Because these stories are real and they're powerful, and the bottom line is, guys, they are valuable. I think your stories are the most valuable thing you got. And if you don't share them, then you're just leaving a lot of value on the table. All right, Margaret, I'll call it timeout.
Yes, I love this. We have this Beau story guide and video training. So text capture to 323-310-5504. You also have the personal story power event, which is the one that I went to back in the fall of 2019 and really never looked back. Can you just speak a little bit to that? I know it's coming up in October.
Yeah, you know what, you guys, I want you there. Honestly, like I could bullshit around here, but this is Margaret's people, so you should be there. Honestly, this 3 days shifts everything around, right? And it's in La Jolla, the most beautiful city I've ever been to, right on the beach with seals, right there on the beaches. And it is in the most beautiful theater that I've ever performed in. And I've performed in a lot of theaters. This theater is state of the art. We have a very intimate group, but it's a big theater because I want the intimate group to fill the theater with the presence of them. So that is October 14, 15, and 16 in La Jolla. It's a personal story power event. Day one, we're going to capture your signature story, no different than the stories that Margaret and I tell and all my clients tell. So that's day one. We're going to capture your most valuable story. Day two, guess who's going to come and get their hands on you? Jean-Louis Rodrigue, the greatest movement coach in the world, the guy I've been working with for I think 18 years now. He works with Margot Robbie. He works with Leonardo DiCaprio. If somebody wins an Academy Award, they thank him at the Academy Awards, because you never win an acting award for what you say. You only win acting awards for what you do. Mm-hmm. And Jean-Louis is that section of acting, what you do, the physicality, the muscularity of your storytelling. Beautiful guy. You're going to love him on day 2. We're going to put your defining moment and attach it to your solar plexus, attach it to your molecules. So this story is walking around with you 24 hours a day. Day number 3, we're going to teach you how to make money with your story, how to build your company with your story. This is what I've done like 5 different times, 5 different occupations, just by telling my story and then going to the top with it. It is a blast, 3 days. It is fun. It is funny. It's sometimes scary. You're going to be nervous. Who cares? Everybody's nervous. I'd love to have you guys, October 14, 15, 16 in La Jolla. How'd that do?
Is there... Oh, that's just great. Oh, go perfect. If you go to boeason.com/RWS, and we will make sure that this gets, boeason.com/RWS, we will make sure that this gets released to podcast as well in good time.
Oh, cool.
So
and you guys I'm just looking at the notes that they wrote me, and they said that you guys get a special discount price for Margaret's community. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but sounds like you'll get to save some money.
I didn't even know that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's really
amazing.
cool.
I love it.
The smart people on my team give me notes. Can you believe this?
I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. You guys, I've gone to this event multiple times. Heck, I'll check my calendar later. If enough of you go, you never know.Maybe I'll just show up and come hang out.
As a team.
Yeah, that's
that
super. I mean,
that'd be fun.
there's been a number of I know a handful of of restorative wellness practitioners have been through the training, and it is so game changing for in all the ways that we've talked about. Bo, this has been just so value packed, so many nuggets, so many just incredible ideas and mindset shifts. And I really hope you all like take time to let this percolate, let it sink into your cells, because if you really let it in and really start to live into your greatness the way that Bo is speaking to right now, everything changes. There was a before Bo and after Bo in my life. and it is, I still refer back to things. I still quote you. I still have I'm traveling right now, so I don't have my rock. I still have my rock right on my desk. I use it all the time. So it is just, yes, live into your greatness. Don't play small. Bo, you are fantastic. You are absolutely the best. This has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Margaret. Thanks for having me. We'll see you guys in La Jolla. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Clinician's Corner. Don't forget to head to the show notes to access additional links and resources. And if you liked today's episode, please be sure to hit the follow button and consider leaving a review, sharing it on social, or texting it to a colleague. The more we spread the word, the more lives we can impact for the better.